How to overcome your mind. If you're asking that kind of question, it's because your mind has become a big tyrant. Probably in the way of a lot of self-criticism, fears. It's a lot of what it does that causes us suffering. And the typical response in our society, if we're getting beat up, we want to fight back. We want to stop being beat up, losing to it, being abused by it. We want to win. Be the dominant force over our mind. Except this is somewhat our mind's idea of how to get in control again by being more dominant. That's kind of the same direction of now we're going to abuse and stop that part of our mind. It's understandable because the mind can be pretty abusive. And you got your inner critic and your fears and your different various sub-personality voices speaking terrible thoughts to you. Not going to make it. I'll never amount to anything. I'm such a loser. They're way better than me. All those negative thoughts. What you're looking for, what might start out as an adversarial relationship of like, I got to win, I got to beat this thing. And that's okay in the beginning. To push back on your mind and say, this abusive mind is a problem. I don't want it anymore. It's got to change. It's got to stop. But what you want to refrain from is attacking it. You don't want to become abusive yourself because now you're developing a second part of your mind that's attacking the first part of the mind, and it'll eventually turn on you. So that approach will work, but eventually you're going to have to come make a peace with that part of your mind also and calm it down. So one of the ways to overcome your mind, particularly is if it's an abusive tyrant. And this gets tricky, depending on a person's trauma history, is to recognize your own history and development of that mind probably had pretty good reason. A harsh inner critic comes from having harsh experiences in our life. Maybe a parent harsh on us. And that harsh inner critic was telling us everything that we needed to do to be perfect so we could avoid that criticism from a parent. And that harsh inner critic was pushing us early on to be the best, to be perfect, to be good enough, and to really beat us up if we slacked off in any way possible to be more perfect. Because if we slacked off, we're completely vigilant, a harsh, painful criticism or punishment would come. And so in a way, that mind was trying to protect us. But the funny thing about the mind, it often doesn't know that our landscape has changed, and maybe that parent isn't there anymore, the harsh world isn't there anymore, and people aren't going to judge us. So we have to let our mind know the world's changed. Sometimes I tell my clients in those situations, tell that harsh inner voice, thank you for protecting me. Thank you for when I needed it, push me harder so I could avoid this painful criticism and punishment over here. You did a great job. I see that you were trying to protect me. Thank you. And oh, by the way, I'm older now. I'm not that little kid that needs protecting, because your mind is stuck in this memory where you're a little kid and dad is still there and mom is still there. The mind is dreaming the past over and over again as if it's all still happening. And you need to take yourself out of the dream and that you're safe, and let your mind know that you're safe. And the threat is no longer there, and let your mind know you've done a great job. Thank you. All your hard work is paid off. I made it out of that terrible situation, and you can rest now. Thank you. I'm safe now. You can rest now. Sometimes the parts of your mind needs to know that so it can calm down and feel safe and get out of the memory of where you're telling the same story from way back in your past. Thank you. I understand why you're doing what you're doing, why you did what you did. You helped. I'm safe now. And you can rest. Make peace with your mind. That's another path you can take.